Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you all for coming. This is our second meeting of the month of October. I really appreciate all of you being here this evening. Roll call, please.
Mr. Chapman?
Present.
Alderman Bradford?
Here.
Alderman Wilson? Alderman Dubose?
Present.
Alderman Vestro?
Present.
Alderman Chastain?
Here.
Alderman Leonard?
Here.
Mayor, we have a quorum.
Well, let's check to make sure Alderman Wilson's on the call. He told me he's gonna be on the call. If he's there,
He's not on yet. He's
Not there.
joined on the call.
Alderman Wilson works at the shipyard and said he was gonna call in, so we hope that he chance to call in before we finish. Board member, we have the agenda in front of us. And you have a copy of the amended agenda. Adding item consent agenda 419, which is the amendment to the agenda, amendment to the budget, and a rewording of item 5.1 under the main agenda. Is there any items?
Mayor?
Yes.
Just to be clear on 5.1, that agenda item is the report of your veto, so the board's action will be whether or not to override that veto, okay? So that's 5.1.
Okay, say it again, Judge.
5.1 on the main agenda reads, approve, decline a motion to officially accept the mayor's veto. The mayor's veto has already been accepted by the clerk. And so the item on the agenda for the board is the board to take action on that veto. If they want to override the veto or not, that will be what will be taken up under 5.1.
Okay, thank you, Judge. Is there any item on the consent agenda, item 4.1 through 4.19, that anyone would like to move down for discussion?
Yes, sir. Item 4.6 through item 4.10.
Item 4.6 through item 4.10.
And that's just to get some clarification, if I may, to get some, just to be clear about Del Sol and these invoices that we've received from them. So it's just to get some explanation.
Okay. We will move item 4.6 through 4.10. They will be added to the main agenda. Will become item 4.5 through 4.15. Any other? To accept the agenda with those changes.
Motion to approve the amended agenda.
Second. There was motion Alderman Chapman, second Alderman Lump. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Ayes have it. Before we have our devotion this evening, I text our pastor today, my pastor, Father Dominic from St. Peter's Catholic Church, is going to do our devotion. And I asked him if he would keep in his prayers today, and all of us keep in our prayers. You know, we lost one of our deputy sheriffs last week through an accident. He was going home and ran into some horses and was fatally killed. His name was Joshua Brashear, Deputy Sheriff Joshua Brashear. And we ask that you all would keep him and his family in your prayers. I'm happy to introduce to our city our new pastor at St. Peter's. He's only been with us about a month, and he's from Nigeria. We asked him to come and do our devotional this evening. Father?
Good evening, all. Thank you for this great opportunity to be here to share brief words with you as we do this meeting. As the mayor said, I'm Father Dominic. I'm from Nigeria. I'm the priest at St. Peter. And this evening, I just came to share a brief word with you as we begin this meeting. I titled it "Seeking the Peace, Most Point." Seeking the peace of Most Point. There is an old saying that if you want to go somewhere, you want to get there fast, you go alone. But if you want to go far, you go with someone, you go with people. And so we gathering here this evening is an indication that we want to go far regarding the good things that we have in mind for our city, Most Point. And that's why we have come together so that we will make this journey to where the Lord wants us to be. And so the scripture passage that I chose is just very brief, is from the prophet Micah, chapter 6, verse 8. And he simply asks us a question. What does the Lord require of you? What does the Lord require of you? And the scripture gives us an answer to help us. It says to act justly, to love mercy, and to walk humbly with God. To act justly, to love mercy, and to walk humbly with God. That is what the Lord requires of all of us. As we gather this evening, will our discussions reflect the justice of God? Will it in some way reflect the mercy of God? And are we going to have the courage to step out of our comfort zones and be humble in our journey with God, in our journey with our brothers and sisters? And that will require sacrifices, both on our part and on the part of our city leaders. On that note, I wish to remember our brother, Deputy Sheriff Joshua Aaron, who passed serving our community. That is what it looks like to act justly, to walk humbly with God. God has given each and every one of us something, a gift, a talent. Are we going to use it for mercy? Are we going to be humble about it? Both the leaders and the people. One of the good things about humility is that it gets us to the point where we recognize that we have limits, that we can learn from one another and we can trust one another. And so my prayers is that this meeting, as we go ahead to discuss for the good of our community, for the good of our brothers and sisters, for the good of all we serve, that we will remember the word of God. To remember that God is asking you to act justly, to walk with mercy, and to be humble in your service. May we please bow our heads and pray. God of wisdom and peace, bless Most Point this evening and always, and all the people that inhabit this land. Bless every person in this room and every household we serve. We pause again to remember our brother Joshua. Receive him into your eternal light. Bring comfort to his family, friends, and colleagues. Strengthen all who protect and serve us each day. Give us clear minds, steady hearts, and generous spirits. Teach us to act justly, to love with mercy, and to walk humbly with you. Protect those who protect us. Strengthen the weary. Lift up the poor. And grant that our decision this night will be for the honor and glory of your name. We ask this through Christ our Lord. Amen.
Thank you, Father. Stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance
Of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much for that presentation tonight. I have a proclamation for the United States Postal Service. Donnie and Brandon. Yeah. Hey, Donnie. You allow me to stand here.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Appreciate y'all for coming.
Yes, sir.
I will just read this, and one is for Pastor Gula, and one is for the City of Moss Point. The City of Moss Point proclamation, whereas the United States Postal Service has played a significant role in historical development in the United States of America, from the establishment of the roads, railroads, and airlines, and a vital part of the fabric building together the people of this country. Whereas the United States Postal Service, better known as USO, its current law, which establishes the population to receive equal and affordable services, no matter who, where we are, where we live, democratic right of the people. Whereas the United States service 169 million addresses, 6 and sometimes 7 days a week. And whereas the United States Postal Service do not receive taxpayers' money, but that it runs on its own revenue that's created by the postal services, postage products, and whereas due to its public mission, the United States Postal Service is a low-cost anchor of the $1.3 trillion of packages industry, which supports 7 million jobs across this country. Whereas the United States Postal Service is an important source of good, union, and living wage jobs with fair hiring practices and equal pay for each worker, for workers from all walks of life, and is one of the largest employers of veterans. And whereas the efforts to privatize the United States Postal Service, is whole or in part, would undermine the very public mission of the United States Postal Service. The United Postal Service mandate is to dedicated workers, hundreds of thousands of public servants all over this country. Whereas, while communicating habits are always changing, the United Postal Service remains a valid source of communication. The exchange of ideals, financial transaction, private and secure correspondence, mail order medications, billing and voting, and e-commerce packages. A host of opportunities for new and expanded services. And whereas the United Postal Service is owned by the people of the wonderful nation treasure, escalating the best government of, by, and for the people. And whereas the United Postal Service shall be operated as a basic fundamental services provided to the people by the government of the United States. Provides the commission created by the act of Congress and is supported by the people. The Postal Service shall have as its basic function the obligation of binding the nation together, and be it further resolved, as the city of Moss Point was established in 1901, the United States Postal Service has faithfully served the city of Moss Point for 124 years, of its 250 years, from the delivery of utility bills, essential governmental communications, and personal correspondence. And the city of Moss Point recognize, honor, and salute the dedication of postal workers while affirming its support for a robust and thriving public service for generations to come. Therefore, I, Bill Knight, on behalf of the citizens of Moss Point, affix the seal of the Moss Point this Tuesday, October 21st, 2025. Congratulations. Let's give them a hand.
For the year began.
Thank you so much.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you very much.
So much.
Appreciate it, Donna.
Help.
Next item on the agenda is the program. This is our second meeting of the month, and every second meeting of the month, we have a report of department heads. And at this point, we ask any of the board members that may have a question about any of the department heads or any of the department's heads, please raise that question. Do you have any question for any concern about any reports in your packet? Alderman Chapman.
I don't have a question. I just have to recommend the board, or yourself and the board, recommend an amendment. If you remember, Sam Franklin with H2O has been reporting to us the demo of a building on Amico Drive, an old abandoned pump station. That building has now been reassigned, and I'd like to add the same type building, an old abandoned pump station at Sue Ellen. Where's Ms. Jones? Sue Ellen, that we need to have demo. So when I submit it to Marcus and you guys see the invoice for that cost, you'll know that's what it is. And we want to start carrying that on the list to be addressed. And it's the same exact building, just a different location.
That it?
I do need to commend JCUA. I called yesterday on a leak at the meter at Pelican Landing. And when I went over there today, I saw where the dirt had been freshly dug and addressed. So in just a matter of a few hours, they addressed that leak. I want to commend you guys. Please pass on the maintenance, Mr. Elliott, that we appreciate them taking care of that for us. That's all I have, man. Thank you.
Like to ask Ms. Joseph from the rec department to please give our citizens an update on Sue Ellen, if you would, just a brief little update of what's going on in Sue Ellen. I'm sorry to put you on the spot.
Good evening, Mayor and Board. Just to give an update on the Sue Ellen project, we have obtained additional funds, for Sue Ellen. Right now, we are at $232,458.99 from CDBG. We're at $252,500 from SCRC. That's the Southeastern Crescent Regional Commission. From our 2% funding, we have $203,024.01. And then we also have funding from the tornado proceeds we received from insurance and then FEMA. And so we have a total of $783,092.82 have been allocated for that swelling project. So far, we have gotten the roofing part of the project completed and the installation of the AC units is complete. And so the new assessment is where we are looking at the infrastructure. We did run into a few issues with drainage. So right now, our city engineer is preparing that scope of work so that we can get the drainage assessed. From there, we will look at doing the exterior part of the facility, scoping that out, and then moving to exit.
So is the facility at this point able to be used?
It is to some limitations. We are, as the work simultaneously goes on the gym side, we're looking to at least have activity on the classroom side. So we had summer activities there. Right now we have football practice that's being on that site. So we're able to use it. They're using the restrooms and things inside. But to a minimum, we are able to use it, but we're hoping to at least be able to use both sides simultaneously to get our children back in that building.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Ms. Joseph, could you give us an update on Goshen baseball field?
On Goshen Street Ballpark, we are in the process of completing phase one. And so for that, for the cosmetic upgrades on Goshen Street, we have repair to the fencing, and then we have the repair to the wooden fence that was demoed. And we're looking right now, we're in the process of getting a survey complete so that we can get the new fence installed. And so there's an easement there. So we ran into a couple of different scenarios that we're gonna have to actually straighten out. County Marcus's office has been helping us with that to be able to see where the property line actually is. And so we'll have the fence. The last quote that we received was also to include a survey. Richie is working on one quote for us to get a survey of where that property line is. And we're also completing that, getting a quote ourselves. We want to go ahead and get that fencing done so that we can have that adjacent to the neighborhood properties. We want to be able to have that clearance off. And so we'll get the fencing of that project done. Then we'll move over to a lot of the cosmetics, the same thing there. Grading, we are working with Biloxi Shuckers. They are partnering with us to come in and do a lot of our field maintenance. On top of that, we've already gotten Turf Masters is getting started out there as well on the grading, getting the grounds leveled and ready to go. From there, the Shuckers is going to come in and put in our foul lines, and then they're also going to mount our bases for us. So all the cosmetics, all the bells and whistles we're able to get in this time, and so we've got a lot of that equipment already ordered. We want to get the infrastructure in place first, and then you'll see it look much better out there, Goshen.
Thank you.
Yep, sir.
Any other question? If there's no other questions, the next item on our agenda is the public comments. Let me just read, I thank you again for coming, and let me just, I think you got a copy in your seat, but let me just reiterate again that we're going to allocate 30 minutes to have this comment section. We ask that you, no name calling, please, and no disrespectful comments, no foul language. I don't anticipate that out of this crowd. And of course, threats to anyone. We can agree to disagree. We just want to make sure we hear. I want to make sure we hear both sides, you know, whether you fall against what we're proposing. And so we're happy that you're here to give us that, because it's important to get that from the public as to what they're thinking. So on our list here, we have Steve Womack. We have Stephen, I think it's Stephen Vance, and we have Charles Burke. Is that right? Charles Burke, is that right? Yes, Charles. Hey, Charles. And then Phyllis Matthews. Now, I was told that Mr. Gillespie, when did I hear you right? Sorry, someone else's name is on here.
I thought Mr. DeLashman had said he wanted to speak. Is he still here?
Yes.
He's shaking his head.
But if time permit, then we'll take anyone else, but we got 30 minutes altogether. And we got 3 minutes for each one of you all to speak. So again, we're happy to hear what your comments are. So Mr. Wall, we'll take it in the order that they're listed. Mr. Womack? No? Mr. Vance? Hey, Steve?
Hello, Mayor, Board. My name's Stephen Vance. I live, 3800 Dancer Street, Ward 5. Chastain is, my representative.
Okay.
I'd just like to speak, for just a minute and talk about, what I believe is, fiscal irresponsibility and optics. So, I think what we've seen inside the city over the last couple of months, I think based on just the issues we've seen with the police department, I'm not placing blame on anybody. I think there was some problems over there inside of the department. I think there was some problems based on what I've seen with the way it was handled, you know, based on my opinion inside with the city itself. But I think when you want to go and vote for a contract that is going to bend up costs from the city, you know, and the 2.3 million, 457,000. I understand there was some things inside each proposal that was a little bit different, right? But the numbers are, you know, based on what they are. There might be some equipment needs that maybe that we aren't seeing that are those numbers. You know, the city, an average city this size needs about, if we were to go out and buy a whole new set of equipment, it roughly costs $2 million, right? The city can get a low-cost loan for that over 10 years. You're looking at $200,000 a year probably, okay? So, you know, so call it 250,000 over 5 years. So that's 1.25 million, right? So they were talking 29 people versus 26. But when I talk about optics, I see where we didn't have the money to make raises inside the police department. And if we can't afford basic services for the city, for us to be able to protect the city, then what are we doing being fiscally irresponsible like that? That's all I got to say. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Vance.
Charles Burke. I live on Griffin Street, over behind the school in Ward 6, Wayne's Ward. Same topic, fiscal irresponsibility, spending money that the city doesn't have. Okay? Later on today, you're going to take up the topic of the veto. The mayor vetoed your board's vote to go with Clearwater. Okay? Why did he do that? He did it because he had to. Okay? But state law, and when you got Title 21 and Title 31, mixed contracts all up. But the basic tenet in both of those titles says you're going to put out a bid for proposal for the services you're after. And this is one where it says, it's talking about sewage collection and disposal in excess of $700,000 or $75,000, which obviously this one is. It says, all factors determined relevant by the governing authority or agency or required by this paragraph shall be duly included in the advertisement to elicit proposal. After response to requests for proposals have been duly received, the governing authority or agency shall select the most qualified proposal or proposals on the basis of price, technology, and other relevant factors. So you had everything in that proposal that you needed, because by law it said you had to. Then you turn around, the next clause says, if any governing authority accepts a bid other than the lowest bid actually submitted, it shall place on its minutes detailed calculations and narrative summaries showing that the accepted bid was determined to be the lowest. That means when you didn't take the lowest bid, which was H2O, you had to place in the minutes calculations and substantive narratives to show that Clearwater was a better bid. And y'all didn't. Because you go back and you look at Facebook, which put out on the internet, and all the four of you that voted against it did was give a personal opinion, why I don't like them, they did this in the past. They were the same company. Oh, they're not the same company. They were bought out 3 or 4 times. So that Utility Partners is not H2O. They've been bought out 3 or 4 different times. So it's not the same people there. So the mayor has no choice but to veto your decision because you're breaking the law. Okay? I would hope the city attorney clued you into that. Not only that, so your vote to cost the residents of Moss Point an additional $2 million over 5 years, which seemed to be fine with all of you. That's not the only thing you'd cost the city. Because by voting that down, you leave it open for the city to be sued by H2O if you don't go with them. Because they put in a legitimate bid and y'all didn't follow it. And if they really want to do something about it, they can also try to pierce your culpability and go after you personally because you violated law. And there are laws in place to charge each of you at least $500, if not more, for improper contracting. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Burke. Matthews?
Good evening, Mayor and Board. Just asking that we would please, somebody tell us the truth about all of this. It's here, there, everywhere, name calling out, this, that, and the other. My understanding is that with the H2O contract, the cost of equipment to the city was not included. If that's not true, the gentleman with H2O that I spoke with is present here in the conference room. So could we please get the truth about all of what is going on so that the residents clear understanding as to what, where, and why. And in the future, please, sirs, this city is in a terrible place. We have got to get some help in here. We got to get some resources in here to get this city cleaned up, to get resources that the residents need that we pay for. And we don't necessarily receive what we pay for. So please, sirs, can we get the truth?
We don't have time for the 30 minutes. Does anyone else have any comments? We're still within the 30 minutes.
That's all we had on the list, Mayor. That was all we had on the list, Mayor.
Okay. I just want to kind of bring us up to where we are. And at the end of my statement, we'll ask the board to determine, and we'll entertain a motion to whether they want to override my veto. Let me just tell you the process that we've got to this point. Once the veto was made last Tuesday, I had 10 days to get a veto to the city clerk. I issued that veto to the city clerk on the 15th, which was 6 days after our meeting. After that veto was dated and notarized by the clerk, I asked her to email that to the board the same day, to the members, so they would have it the same day. So they would know that I got it to them on time. Once that happened, the board has 3 days or at the very next meeting to veto to override my veto. And that's where we are now. So each alderman have a copy of that veto. I will only read the summary of that veto. But in the whole veto is the case law, and much of the stuff that Mr. Burke mentioned is in this this veto to verify my justification for vetoing. And once I have read the summary, the board then must have 2/3 of the votes of this board, that is 5 people. 5 people vote to override my veto. Then the vote they made last week stands. If they do not override my veto, then on Tuesday of next week, we'll call a special call meeting for them to vote again on my new resolution. And at that point, we'll decide, based on that vote, who the contractor will be. I wanted you to know that process, so that's where we are. Now we're asking for a motion to override my veto.
Mayor, I think we need to do the consent agenda.
Hey, pardon?
The consent,
Excuse me. Yeah, that will be, now we're down to the 5.1, which is on our agenda. And that would be the point in which the board would decide if their vote will determine whether or not.
We still haven't voted. Still haven't voted on the consent agenda.
We need to vote.
Vote on what? Vote on what?
Alderman Chapman offered a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Consent agenda?
To accept the consent agenda as amended, yes, sir.
Second.
Oh, I thought that was done earlier.
Third,
That was done earlier.
To move those items down.
move the items down, but we haven't approved the consent agenda yet, and that was Alderman Chapman's motion, Alderman Chastain's second to approve the items on the consent agenda, except for those items moved to the main agenda.
Oh, okay. That was Alderman Chapman, second by Alderman
Chastain.
Chastain. Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it.
And Alderman Wilson is on the call.
Okay, good. Did he vote?
Alderman Wilson?
Aye.
Now we're to the main agenda, Mayor, and the first item on the main agenda is the mayor's veto. Timely issued to the city clerk on Wednesday, October 15th, which was within 10-day period required by state statute after the board's decision to approve a resolution and found in the best interest of the city of Moss Point. Negotiate said contract with Clearwater Solutions LLC on Tuesday, October 7, 2025. This acceptance by the board give official return date as set forth in Mississippi Code 21-315. And in accordance with section 21-315, the Board of Aldermen shall have the right to override the veto on or after October 18, 2025, the third day following the mayor's veto submitted by Tricia Thigpen, the city clerk. So the item before the board is, at this point, there would be a motion to override the veto if one is.
Comment. We gotta get some clarity. We gotta get some clarity here, cause somebody done got something mixed up. Now we don't need 5 votes. We need to sustain our 4 votes. And your veto is overturned. If you don't get 5 votes, then the veto was defeated. But it takes 5 votes to deny the override. Am I right?
No, sir. With a 7-member board, the statute requires a 2/3 majority of the total board members. Since there's 7 members of the board, in order to override a veto, you have to have 5 votes to override.
No, I think we need to close this down and go into executive session, because that's not the way it goes. That's not the way it goes. I have vetoed several bills in the past, right here in Mount Point, the same amount of aldermen. And the way it go is, if we voted 43 to deny the proposal, the mayor has to have 5, he has to take 2 of us and flip us to his viewpoint. That's not the way it goes?
No, sir, that's not correct. It's a 2/3 of the total.
Okay. No votes is 2/3 of the vote?
No, sir.
5.
There has to be 5. And if, for example, the motion is to override and let's say 4 votes to override, then you're back to where you started. And then your current contracts are still in place, obviously through November 30th. But if 5 votes are not present won't vote to override the mayor's veto, then we're back to having the proposals before us. And the mayor had suggested meeting next Tuesday night to take up. And at that time, if 4 members of the board chooses to select contractor A, then 4 members of the board can select contractor A at that time. But right now, to override the veto, there has to be 5 votes to override.
That's right. This vote has nothing to do with what happened last meeting. This vote is about overriding my veto. And the law says you need 2/3, which is 5 votes, to do that. So I have vetoed what happened on the 7th. It's up to you to come up with 5 votes if you don't agree with me. So the floor is open for motion to override my veto.
Comment. Judge, could I get that in writing?
Yes, sir. I've got,
Take it for years here, right here in Mount Point.
I've got,
Mayor, can I add something?
No, you cannot, ma'am.
The in writing portion was attached to the veto.
It's
In writing was attached to the veto when it was sent out to us on the 15th.
I want to point out to answer Alderman Bradford's question, if I may, Mayor.
Sorry.
Back in 2014, Judge St. Pay had asked for a interpretation of the statute, and for different reasons. But as part of that, basically said at its regular scheduled meeting on August 19th, 2014, the Board of Aldermen voted 4-3 in favor of, at that time, hiring a new police chief. And through and further said the motion only received 4 votes instead of the required 3/5 or 5 votes because of its 7-member board, and therefore the mayor's veto stood. So the override veto requires 5. Now, just because if that fails, doesn't mean that H2O gets the contract. It just means that the mayor's veto is not overridden. Then we have to take up the issue of when we're going to award the contract.
Gotcha.
So do we get to include portions such as equipment costs and to revisit this contract between the two?
The situation we have is we have a very detailed request for proposal process.
Okay.
That was put out there. Where a board can't do is get outside the scope of those parameters. But both companies, the scoring committee had found both these companies qualified. Then you get into those other factors that were listed as criteria to be selected. You know, qualifications of management staff, for example, experience, performance history, staffing plan, workforce plan, pricing. So all those factors can be considered. There was a couple, and I've got several cases here I can give y'all to look to. And that's why I think it's probably more prudent for the full board to take these, look at them, and you can make your decision based on the RFP and those parameters set forth. There was one case, for example, I believe out of Claiborne County, where 2 contractors bid, and one at the presentation started listing factors that weren't in the request for proposal. Those were considered as part of the decision-making basis, and that one was reversed. But there are provisions in there that you can look at factors other than price. You just have to make sure they're within the scope of the RFP.
The other part of that, Judge, is that Alderman Duval, whoever gets the contract, that's a part of the negotiation about the equipment.
Well, and that's what
At that point, whoever gets the contract, the negotiations is about deciding what type of equipment, how much we can afford. That's a part of the negotiation with either one of the companies that get it.
Mayor,
I have a question real quick, Counselor, just because we doesn't have the 5 votes to override the veto, that doesn't mean the contract is awarded to either.
That's correct. All you're doing tonight is if you make the motion to override the veto, if his veto stands, you're back to where you were.
Right.
He can't veto a negative. It has to be a positive vote. Y'all, 4 votes the other night, he's vetoing that vote. Doesn't mean that
The contract is awarded.
out.
Right. So we'll be back to plan A
You're
from the start.
back to where you.
Where it starts from. Gotcha. So we good, however we vote.
Mayor, if I could just follow up on what Alderman Dubose and Alderman Chastain said, and our attorney. Tonight's vote is really nothing to do with either proposal.
That's right.
We won't be considering any of that. Tonight is only about whether someone wants to make a motion to override the veto. The proposals will be taken up again at our next meeting. Thank you. Oh, one last thing. You don't have to override. If you don't want to make a motion to override, it's not required. You can just let the veto stand. So I don't know if somebody thought we had to.
All you do.
Yeah, I mean, that's your choice. Action is action in this case. It would basically be sustaining the veto, or you can move the vote, try to override. That's your card. But regardless, at this point, since there is a valid veto in place, we're not in a position tonight to have a contract awarded or.
And the whole purpose of the veto is to get back together and rethink this. Let's discuss this. Let's discuss this to try to get some understanding about where we really are. So if we're going to just sustain it by not voting, I want to make some additional comments that may help the situation, because I am concerned. Yes.
If you don't mind, I think at this point, since we're this place on the agenda, I think it's probably to the point where you can call to see if there is a motion. If not, then you probably can move on. That's where you are.
Say it again, Judge.
I said you're at the point where you can recognize any board member for a motion if desires.
Yes.
Mr. Mayor, if I might?
Yes.
The agenda item requires that we approve or decline the motion to officially accept the mayor's veto.
Right.
I would like to make a motion.
Before you make that motion, I corrected that at the beginning of the meeting. The board doesn't have to accept or decline. He's vetoed it. You have to determine tonight whether you want, as a board, to override the veto.
So my motion is not to override.
You don't, you won't need that motion.
But the idea is someone have to make a motion that they want to override it and see what kind of votes we get.
I make a motion that we override the veto.
Got a motion?
Alderman Bradford made a motion that we override the veto of the mayor.
Second.
Any second?
You second?
Alderman Chastain.
I think second. All in favor of voting to override the mayor's veto, raise your hand.
Do a call. Can we call?
Everybody?
I mean, it doesn't matter.
It
doesn't matter.
Ready to go.
Alderman Chastain, Alderman Dubose, Alderman Bradford,
Alderman Vastro.
Alderman
Vastro.
Vastro. Did you raise your hand?
No. I approve the veto. That's your right.
And it doesn't matter. So, yes.
Oh, you got voting to override the veto, which is not enough.
That's correct.
Motion failed.
And the veto failed. So next Tuesday, we will meet. I will present you a resolution, and you can then vote that up or down.
That will be next week, and then, of course, we'll get the information out for the board to know. Any of this information, Alderman Bradford and others, I got all these cases that give you what you need to be fully informed as to where we are.
Let me just mention, no, excuse me. Let me just mention that the vote has been taken. And ladies and gentlemen, again, thank you for coming, because
you don't get it, you don't
No,
get any more discussion.
Question.
You don't,
Is next week's meeting gonna be open to the public?
yes. All of our meetings are, but Mr. Burns? Yeah, Mr. Burns. Mr. Burns, all our meetings are open to the public. The only time we go into the executive session is when it's not to the public, but we have to bring back out what we did in public, in the executive session. So all of our meetings, yeah, it'll be open, it'll be announced at a certain time limit to announce it. It'll be on our website, it'll be on our Facebook, so everybody will know when that is, and we'll make sure you know what time that is. Matter of fact, we can tell you now, it's gonna be 5:30, right, Tracy? It's gonna be 5:30 next Tuesday. So anyone want to come to hear that discussion, please do that. Well, let me just make, because I know some of y'all told me you weren't gonna be to stay for the whole meeting, but let me just make some comments here so you know, where I stand with this. Because there are some concerns that I have about where we are. Because I recognize the reason I vetoed was that there was no real justification for the veto, no qualifying justification for the veto. One of the statements I put into my statement was, under the Jones, Mississippi purchasing law, the board may consider factors other than price determining which bid is the lowest bid or best bid. That was a statement that in a case law in 2013. In making the determination, the public authority may take into consideration factors such as bidders' honesty, integrity, bidder's skills, business judgment, bidder's experience, bidder's facility, carrying out a contract, the bidder's conduct on the previous contracts, quality of work, procedures done by the bidder. And in another case that was in 2006, that is the Burnett versus Phonotop, it says that the related public work service contract proposal, cities ought to consider proposal and strive to receive best service based on the lowest possible bid. My consideration or my concerns is the consequences of our action just came out of a $2 million deficit. Are we going back to that? We got families that are calling me saying they were thinking about coming to Moss Point. But if we're gonna act the way we act, they're not coming. Businessmen and women that I'm trying to get to come to Moss Point, saying if we can't manage our own resources, why do they want to come to Moss Point? Our state legislators have called me and said, why would you coming to Jackson every year asking for money? Why should we continue to give you money if you're not trying to help your own situation? I have to go up there and try to ask them to give us funding. And they're saying, why would we give you funding and you're not managing what you got? We got people all over this state and all over the country that are observing our behavior. Our taxpayers. We got people on fixed income that we asking them to help absorb this kind of money. We need firemen. We need policemen. We're at the NAA in here last week saying we need to open Dr. Morris Fire Station. All this keeps us from doing those kinds of things. We need to keep these things in mind and consider these things, how it is ineffectively keeping us from doing what we're trying to do. All of these things, as the mayor, of me trying to get other people to come in here, is affecting my ability to do that. Because of the decisions that we make, people are watching us because of this internet feed all over the state. And they're telling me what's going on. They're concerned about what's going on. And we have to have these kind of things in mind. I hope our board's concerned about that. We will continue to work with these guys were voted in by all of our people. Those that voted elected all of us. They're representing their ward the best they think they can. I have to represent all the people. And this is what my concern is. We're trying to make Moss Point better, and these kind of things don't help us very much. And I hope our board would understand that and take those kind of things under consideration.
Man,
It's nothing personal about any of these companies. It's about what's best for the city of Moss Point.
man, am I allowed to?
We're going down to order item 5.2.
I have a concern.
Going to item 5.2.
Can I express a concern as well?
Excuse me.
I think we should be allowed.
Because if we're gonna give an opinion and give an open opinion about how somebody is being informed, it should be a balanced opinion. And that's one-sided when you give something that, look, we were elected, not selected. So a selection committee has a lot to deal with opinions of who they think. And then that evaluation has to come through us to make sure that it jives and balances. So when we're not completely informed, we have some pushback on what our effectiveness is as aldermen. So if the diatribe has to happen, we need to have some type of say other than somebody coming telling you one side of an opinion. We get the same calls as anybody else. We have to stand in front of everybody else getting calls about what the mayor says. Not necessarily true, but it is. So we have to stand on our heels as somebody express an opinion. So the only thing I really wanted to do is just we don't need preaching. We really just need some real information without the slants, and so that we can be able to inform our public correctly, and that we want the best for Moss Point too. It ain't like we foreigners coming in this city. We right here paying the same taxes. I'm defending a mother who's 91 paying a high water bill too that I pay. So I'm just wanting to give everybody an explanation of some type of way that we have to defend ourselves, the community that we see. We haven't always picked the lowest bid. We picked a lawnmower that was because Tractor Supply invested in us, we invested in them. It wasn't the cheapest. But we did that because we believed in that investment, sir. So on that level, we just really want to be able to, no, I wasn't. So what we want to be able to do is just make this thing balanced, that one microphone don't outshout us all in our opinions. And so I talked a little.
I would hope, Mayor, you would allow us to speak in the opposition. Those contracts came in. Y'all listen to me good. I don't have, if anybody on this board, to be honest with you, first thing I said was, I like neither one of them. I wish we could run in-house. Because all they gonna do, bring a management team in to work our people at a high cost. So when we chose what we chose, it was the lesser of the evils. They both gonna rip us off in the long run, trust me. Management companies come in and manage your folks. First thing we're gonna have to buy is a $200,000 or so worth of equipment. If Clearwater pull out tomorrow and take all their equipment with them, when the new company comes in, we got to buy, the city got to buy a large amount of equipment. We gave this a long, hard thought. But there ain't no politics in this. We just went with who we thought was best, who was already in place, and there's no law against the auditors, the elected officials. It's not held up under no law to do what folks say, oh, no, they're not. And let me say this. I'm glad y'all all here. I want to ask a question. Where were you at when we sold our water to Nesatoga for $3 million? Where were you at when we didn't have no ball fields for our children to play? Where's everybody at? Why is this so important? Why are we so defensive about this contract? Everything, we don't have 4 people working in all of City Hall. Building inspector, everybody in county. This city has been going down. I got on this board July the 1st. The police chief was already on his way out the door. He was already told he had no confidence in nobody. So that's how that fell apart. I'm glad you're here. But get the whole story. Get the whole story. Ain't nobody there trying to take nothing from nobody. Get the whole story. And I'm telling you, when you buy tractors,
I would like to make a comment too. Yes. Good evening. I'm glad to see all of you here because I'm concerned, very concerned. And it's just like Alderman said, y'all elected us to make decisions. And some decisions is gonna be hard. It's gonna be hard making decisions. But what I would like for this board to come together, sit down and talk before we come before y'all again. I would like for the mayor to get this team together. And I'm quite sure it'll get done in a matter of weeks. But we haven't met and sit down and talk with each other as a team since we voted the last time. That's not good. Because we all on different pages. Let this board sit down, get themselves together, talk this thing out, and solve the problem. And we will be back with you all, I guarantee you, for the settlement of the contract. But we have got to get together. And Mayor, you the quarterback. You call the play.
I just want to reiterate something I said at our last meeting. I feel like the committee has been unfairly criticized, like they were just selected as favorites or something. The committee was, I believe, selected because they were willing. And we put in about 8 weeks of hard work. Went through both proposals. We did interviews. We studied the information, lots of calculations, lots of discussions, lots of research. It was a lot of work. And the purpose of that committee was to thoroughly examine everything and then to come back and make a recommendation. So then after that, there was some complaints that the whole board didn't have access to all of that information. So that information was provided to the entire board. I don't know if the entire board read both proposals. I'd like to know what the entire board's, each member's favorite part of each proposal was, if they actually read it. Because those were, I got them in my bag here. It's a lot of information. The entire board was able to do another round of interviews and actually were given the videos of the first interview. So information was provided. And I would just like, personally, I don't know if I can get the rest of the board to agree with me on this, but I personally appreciate the hard work of that committee because it was serious work. It wasn't plain favoritism. My mind went back and forth, changed a couple times. But as I learned more, I came to a conclusion it was not personal. It's difficult because these are my friends. Me and some of these gentlemen have rode this entire ward, my entire ward, and looked at problems. And I've worked closely with them. I know Alderman Chapman has worked closely with our contractor. I didn't take the decision lightly. It would have been much easier if I could have said, no, I'm going to stay with who we have because I like them. But I did a thorough examination. I'm not perfect. I'm human. I did what I thought was best and honest. I did calculate all the numbers. I did consider the equipment, all of that. And I still came out to the same conclusion. Our entire committee voted in the same way. I'm just saying, please don't discount the work of the committee. It was put there for a purpose to help this board, not to override or not to force this board to make a decision, but we would just appreciate, I think I speak for the entire committee, we would appreciate it if you would listen to us. And I voted another reason the way I did because of something that's been mentioned by a couple people, including our attorney. There are laws in place that govern this. And yes, there are laws that say you have to be ready to explain yourself if you do not select the lowest bidder. Now, I'm not talking about a few $100s for a lawnmower. I'm talking about thousands and thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands of dollars difference. You better be able to put in the minutes why. Are you gonna have the auditor and the ethics commission and maybe the attorney general sitting in your lap, making you explain it? And I'll tell you what, I'll visit you in jail, but I don't wanna go to jail. I'm gonna do what I think is legal and right and follow the advice of our attorney. So I'm just saying, my vote was honest.
Mayor, one question, and I'm gonna be done.
Alderman Chastain,
Yes, sir.
let's let, the rest of.
Oh,
Yes, Your Honor, you keep bringing this law up, we have to take the lowest bidder. If that's the case, why are we even having a vote?
Hello.
And the law requires that also.
I'll answer that question. The law, you don't have to take the lowest bidder. You can take the lowest and best bidder. But when you have a service contract like this, there's case law out there that sets out what those parameters are that were listed. For example, this is a decision out of Claiborne County. This was a 2010 decision. It says, we agree with the board, this was the Board of Supervisors, but it's the same law, where the law allows the governing authority to determine lowest and best bidder, it is permissible for factors other than price to be considered. And it goes on to say, these include, quote, the bidder's honesty and integrity, the bidder's skill and business judgment, the bidder's experience and facilities for carrying out the contract, the bidder's conduct under previous contracts, and the quality of work previously done by the bidder. And so I just want to say this, I'm here for the entire board to answer, to provide you whatever you need to do. I've only been here a few months, but I've worked with each one of you individually on certain questions, and I don't think anybody here deserves to have any integrity question. Y'all have got a legitimate debate going on that you were elected to decide. The mayor has his role, the board has its role. We will meet next Tuesday night. We'll provide you the information you need, and then you'll come prepared to make your decision.
Comment.
Mayor, could I ask you one question before we move on? And it's very simple. Can you bring us together as the board, the entire board and yourself, and have a meeting with us? Let us discuss this and try to solve with a solution within the board here. And before we come back to face these people, where we will have something solid to tell them.
I'll have to answer that one.
That's okay.
Yeah, that would be a violation of the open meetings law. You can't have a meeting with more than 4 of the board. You'd have a majority of the board, and that would be a violation of open meetings law. So you can't just come together, the mayor and the board, without being in a public meeting.
Mr. Perry,
Yeah,
on this case, we're gonna be discussing personnel. Because what this gonna boil down to, I'm gonna tell y'all something. The numbers, I don't care how you throw them up in there, we're gonna get screwed on both sides. They come to make money. Don't you think either one of these companies come to Mall Point because they love us so dearly? They coming to make dollars. Okay, so what we got here is somebody saying somebody ain't performing. We want to get rid of Clearwater because they're not performing. So we're gonna be calling names. So I think that'll put us in an executive session.
My advice tonight is to move to the next item on the agenda.
yeah.
Okay.
I just want to give,
You judge.
Paul Wilson, you have any comments? Yeah. Okay, next item on agenda.
5.2, approve and decline an extension to change order number 1 for the ARC water meter replacements project with completion date of November 1, 2025 to November 28, 2025 due to supply issues related to meter boxes and lids submitted by Mayor Billy E. Senior.
Motion to approve.
President Wood, motion by Alderman Chapman. Second by Alderman Wilson. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it. We'll wait a moment to see everybody out.
Sounds good.
Next item.
Go ahead.
All right, next item, 5.3, approve decline change order number 1 for the reverse water plant HVAC replacement project. The proposed change order will add hail guards to the 2 units being replaced, which will protect the units from hail and foil damage. This change order will result in a $3,050 increase to the original contract amount and will extend the original contract time by 30 days and amend the budget accordingly. Submitted by Richie Ashley, City Engineer.
Motion to
President
approve.
Bowie,
Motion to approve.
put Alderman Chapman, motion by Alderman Chapman. The second,
Second.
second Alderman Leonard. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it.
5.4, approve decline request to reclassify Michael McCaskill from part-time firefighter to full-time status, submitted by Jason E. Davis, Fire Chief.
So move.
Second.
Motion by Alderman Chapman, second by Alderman Wilson. All in favor, say aye. Ayes have it.
Next item would be 5.5, which was original consent item 4.6. Approve decline request to pay Del Sol Consulting Services invoice 000002201 in the amount of $1,175 for professional consulting service fees from September 1 through September 30, 2025 for the city of Moss Point, June 19, 2023 tornado disaster, submitted by Tricia Thigpen, City Clerk.
Can I just ask,
Oh.
do you want to take
All of them, yeah.
just one can I just answer your general question?
The general question was, because we got all of these invoices from Del Sol, and we have had issues previously about paying out invoices that, you know, this is dated back in 2023. So I was just inquiring because the lapse in the time, and here we're 2025, talking about invoices of 2023. Why are we paying this condensed amount all in one, and to make sure that we're not paying something we don't know?
We received this list of info from I'm sorry.
And can you explain Del Sol to the people?
So Del Sol are consultant for disaster when they help prepare when a disaster happens, they prepare our project work, our projects that we submit to FEMA and MEMA for reimbursement. They do all of our monthly report, our quarterly reporting to FEMA and MEMA. They help with reimbursements and, a list of to-dos for each project that we submit to them for reimbursement from a disaster. So Del Sol was selected. We did go through a bid process for them to be selected to be our consultant on this project. We also have we have a debris monitoring contract. We also have a debris removal contract. And those are the 3 that we seek when a disaster happens. And then those contracts, if you notice, maybe a month or so ago or a couple of weeks ago, we renewed those other contracts because they expired and we were in hurricane season, which ends in November. So to get back to Del Sol, these invoices we received maybe about 2 months ago. So it's taken us this long to put on the agenda so we could verify that these invoices, the older invoices, have not been paid. And that's why we're bringing them to you now, because they've reconciled our books. We've gotten with our finance department, and they verified that these invoices had not been paid.
Right, so.
To verify that, did I answer everything?
Yeah, well, yes, ma'am, other than the delinquency and, from that span.
Well,
Reconcile over a year.
Del Sol, they have gone through a few turnovers in their staff as well. So I don't know if they, after some of their staff left, if they reconciled their books and realized that they didn't receive payment on these invoices, because this is the request that we got from them. And then once we got the request, we verified that they had not been paid. And once we verified that, then that's when we put them on the agenda for the board to approve.
Also remember that we're still dealing with FEMA in reference to baseball park, the school district, Sue Ellen, all that was about the tornado in 23. So this goes on for a while, dealing with, until you complete these jobs.
Gotten a time extension on some of, on the RO plant, on the, ball fields on Bellevue and for Sue Ellen. Because, the extension is through, February of '26. And Richie's part of our team, we have these calls, to make sure we're on track to finish these projects when we're supposed to, but we did have to get extensions on 3 of the projects that we have remaining.
And I only mention that because even though it's in 23, we still gonna be dealing with this for a while because we're still not through with FEMA. Those things take a while.
Thank you. So we can condense all of that back.
Yeah, so we
One
do
vote.
a motion.
So the motion would include, Alderman 4.6, 4.7, 4.8, 4.9, 4.10 from your consent agenda to pay those invoices from Del Sol Consulting Services. Tricia will put that in the minutes, so we would just need one motion.
Motion on
Motion to approve, Del Sol, those particular, amendment, agenda.
motion by Alderman Dubose. Second by Alderman Hunt. All in favor, say aye. Ayes have it.
That concludes the main agenda. There are no discussion items. We have one matter on for executive session. It's a personnel matter regarding a specific job duty. That's on the agenda, Mayor. So I would ask the court, you tell a lawyer. I would ask the board to close, entertain a motion to close session to determine the need for executive session.
Motion to close open session, open meeting to determine the need to go to executive.
Motion by Alderman Chapman, second by Alderman Chastain. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Ayes have it. Order again is a personnel matter.
Yes, sir. It'd be a specific personnel matter, for discussion in executive session. So we would just need a motion to enter into executive session.
Motion to go into executive session on that.
So moved.
Order by Alderman Chapman. Second by Alderman Wilson. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Have it. In executive session.
I just need a
Thank you all again for coming.
Sunday.